Hello, and welcome back to Call Your Coven, practical advice for truly nonsensical times. My name is Bee, my pronouns are she, her, and I am the resident numerologist.
My name is Jeanna. My pronouns are also she, her, and I'm your resident astrologer.
And I am Meg. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm the resident tarot reader.
And full disclosure, we are purely vibes today. We are just going to see what happens.
Worst of time.
No thoughts, just vibes. Eclipse season vibes.
I know. I really do feel, unfortunately, that this current eclipse season that we're recording in is doing a disservice to October because none of us are excited to talk on a microphone.
Even pink lipstick couldn't make me excited today, and that's saying something. I was like, I'm going to dress for the mood that I want, not the mood that I have. And, TBD.
We'll see. Maybe it'll come around.
Okay, but this is good. This is glamour magic. This has...
Yes, and I feel like the unspoken piece of glamour magic is that so often we need to glamour ourselves into like going out doing shit, at least me. So that is the idea, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, look, we showed up, we got here.
Half the battle.
Half the battle. We're all on camera.
We did it. We're here. And yeah, I just think it's rare and important for practitioners to admit when they're not doing well either. Yeah. I think we're all human beings, and yes, we may show up and offer something, but I do think it's important to say when we're not feeling it either. And I know we're not alone just based on some of the feedback that I've heard from my own friends and folks. So if you're out there listening to this and like fully not okay, we're with you.
100%.
It's a rough month.
It's a rough month.
And hopefully October's better. And also, it gets to be rough. Like, the world is crashing and cratering. I almost cried at a Zoran Mamdani video today. So that's how I'm doing emotionally. Like... To be fair, it's a really excellent promo. It's about like mental health for New Yorkers, and he's talking about the story of Nellie Bly, who's the journalist who went undercover in a mental asylum, like basically for 10 or 11 days, like with no plan to get herself out, and then like wrote this incredible story that broke open the whole city's like underbelly of abusive asylum systems. So I, got emotional. But I was like, this is telling. A political ad has me in my feelings. Where are we?
Yeah. I mean, I got emotional. No, I didn't cry, but I thought about it at the end of my queer romance novel that I just finished earlier this morning. It's a sapphic MMA fighter romance. It was great. I loved it. I'm playing a fighter in D&D, so I'm reading fighter novels, and it's great. But the end was like, oh, are we going to reconcile with the father that's disappointed that she's gay? Oh no, this isn't what I want to do right now, but listen.
Eclipse season.
Yeah.
Well, this wasn't something that, it did move me to tears, but not because it was like a good thing. I sobbed in a Starbucks yesterday, which is somewhere I never want to be in the first place.
Yeah, no.
But I had to register for classes for grad school yesterday at a Starbucks across from the cancer center because Stacy had an appointment 10 minutes after my registration time. And then somehow I was not eligible for registration. I don't know what happened again. Not for me to know, clearly. And I cried at the Starbucks, then again in the lobby of the cancer center. And then I had to like pull it together for the appointment. And then I am registered for grad school now, but I had to pick all different classes because everything was gone by the time the admin finally allowed me to register.
Oh, fuck that. That's so annoying.
Fuck that. Great over here.
Yeah. We're sobbing like October 2025. Sobbing in Starbucks.
Sobbing in Starbucks. Lord. I hope not. I don't want to put that on anyone's month.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
we're
fair.
still boycotting Starbucks. You don't go to Starbucks if you don't have to.
Don't do it.
If you were there, crying is acceptable.
I needed a seat and Wi-Fi, and it still didn't matter.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
All right, well, But that being said, this is like a terrible transition into promos because it's like, hey, I cried in the Starbucks yesterday, but if you want a tarot reading with me, I will pull it together for you.
I
It's so much easier
mean,
to read for other people than for yourself when you're in a rough space. I will just say that. I feel like I am finding a lot of power in making things that other people can use, even if it's like, I don't know if I could use this myself, but other people can. So I'm going to put my energy there, and that feels good.
yeah.
But that's all I got. That's the
Yeah,
whole. That's
100%.
it.
Yes. Well, I'm doing tarot readings on Moonlight, and I've been doing a lot of them lately in the video format so that you get to watch it whenever you want. I get to record it when it feels good to me. And I was nervous about them at first because it's just whatever the person puts in the little question box, and then I have no information. I just go. And I've had really amazing feedback and quote unquote reviews. So people have come back saying they're really spot on and really supportive. So if you're looking for something that is quick and also a little bit more casual than booking a reading, a live reading, they're 15-minute videos on Moonlight, and I they have been bringing me a lot of joy.
That's good. That is good. Uh, my first book, Heretic, is now out in paperback.
Oh, yeah.
As of this release, it will be out in paperback, available to pre-order. Well, not pre-order, Jesus, I'm so used to saying pre-order. Available to order from your indie bookstore, your local indie bookstore. Even if Barnes& and Noble is your local bookstore, that is still great. Ordering it from the physical location, that's a store that's employing people in your neighborhood. I will stand 10 toes down on buying from Barnes& and Noble before Amazon.
Yep.
If you would like a signed copy of Heretic, however, there is a link in the show notes to order it from my local bookstore where I go once a week to sign books. So you can get it there.
So cute. And it's so good. It's so good. The
Yeah,
new
if you want to
rules.
cry to a memoir that's kind of tragic, actually, I really recommend the cathartic read that is Heretic. Yeah.
It ends on a nice note.
It ends with queer joy, but ooh,
Yeah.
it's a journey to get there.
At what cost?
At what cost?
Okay, that's the headline for October 2025, but at what cost?
I actually like that as a title.
Yeah,
Not
I'm
gonna
here for
lie.
it, honestly, but at what cost? And I am, as ever, trying to show up in ways that feel okay and supportive for me right now, and as well as okay and supportive for other people. So I've decided to host another community study container. If you're new to those or haven't done one with me before, basically we hang out in my Discord server. We have a private little channel. And every day I pull a card and offer prompts and questions and little nuggets for discussion and personal inquiry that are always around a theme. And you know what fascism needs is disruption and disobedience and rebellion. So that's what we're doing. It's kind of devil fool. How can we fuck things up in a way that feels good and sustainable for you? So especially if you are someone that struggles to break rules, or you have a complicated relationship with authority, or disruption and rebellion don't feel like things that are readily available to you, this could be a really fun way to explore that with the help of the tarot. So it starts October 1st. Depending on when you're listening to this, you may or may not still have a chance to join us, but we would love to have you. And paid newsletter subscribers get a hefty discount. So check that out. We'll have links in the show notes. I'm also adding more things to my conservatory program. The price is not going up, but the value is going up even more. So you can find more about that on my website, 3mtarot.com, or we'll have some direct links in the show notes. So let's hang out and pull some cards and cry together. It's going to be great.
I will also say, as a recovering rule follower and someone who feels very safe with rules and very safe having a to-do and a plan, Meg, even being friends with Meg before I was in a relationship with Meg, before I was married to Meg, I don't know, like just you've really shown me how to question the premise that rules are there for a reason, and how to question the premise that rules keep us safe. Some rules keep us safe, a lot of them don't. Laws are not necessarily keeping us safe, and what is legal is a in flux thing, and you have really like guided me through that over the last few years. And so I think especially I just like want to super underline it for people who are more like me in that respect of like rule followers. You should do this thing with Meg because it will help you challenge your default road setting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's real. I mean, we're conditioned and raised and trained from a very early age to follow the rules. Even if you didn't grow up in a high control religion, like school trains us to follow rules, to be obedient to bells and teachers, to ask to go to the bathroom, to eat at certain times, to like there's so many constrictions on us for such a long time. Like we are trained to be little obedient soldiers in this country. And so
Yep.
it is a really hard thing to deprogram yourself from. And if you have extra layers of like really controlling parents or trauma around, certain kinds of institutions that added extra layers on top of that, it can be really hard to find the courage to be disruptive, but it's also one of the most important things we can be doing right now. So let's fuck some shit up is basically the tagline for this little container. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for letting me talk about that for a few minutes. Appreciate it.
Always. So, October 2025, from a numerological standpoint, is tricky because we are now in one energy again. And our September forecast, our tagline was big wheel energy. And I did talk about these 2 months kind of being intrinsically linked. And now, having experienced some of September, I definitely think they are intrinsically linked. And I hope beyond hope that you are listening to this and finding yourself at a beautiful culmination or completion or graduation and having gorgeous reflections of how far you've come and like Nine of Pentacles walking through your own garden. But if you are Nine of Wandsing, like dragging your carcass over the finish line, that is okay too. And that's definitely more the vibe of this beginning, which is just tricky because we want to think of beginnings as like really exciting things. We want to be planting new seeds. We want to be inhabiting new selves. And all of that really is possible. But I just would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that this one feels heavy. This one feels like it's still wrapped up in the ending. And it's because it is. We are in 9 energy as a collective until the end of the year. So we are getting this grouping of 3 months here at the end of 2025 to quote unquote start over. And so I do have some practical thoughts about how we can approach this. But first, we have to talk a little bit about math, because we have to talk about personal monthly numbers. So we haven't talked too much about personal monthly numbers here, but they are highlighted in October and they were highlighted as well in September. So we can do a little like in between reflection on how it's already shown up and then some interesting things about October. So let's quickly refresh ourselves on the practice. So the first thing you have to know is your yearly cycle number. Personal yearly cycle number, which is the day and the month of your birth added to the current year, which is 2025. So for example, I would add my birthday of 7/7 to 2025, which gets me to 23, and then simplified 2 plus 3 equals 5. So 5 is my yearly cycle number for 2025. You will have one as well. It'll be between 1 and 9. Now, to find your personal monthly numbers, you add your yearly cycle number, so again, -5, to the numeral of whatever the month is. So for October, I would add 5 to 10, which brings me to 15, which simplifies to 6. 1 plus 5 is 6. So again, the reason I'm talking so much math at you right now is because every year, October brings about the completion of one full cycle of monthly numbers in whatever year it is. They're not always going to run 1 to 9. Again, mine is 6 to 6. But whatever monthly number you were working with in January, so you add your yearly cycle to 1, the first month of the year, it's mirrored here in October, even though we're working with 10. So this happens every year. So it can be really helpful to see what flavor you're working with and kind of how as the wheel spins again, now that we're in the 10th month of the year, where are you in your cycle? What actually was the cycle? Like running 6 to 6, that's a lot closer to the messy middle than I'm prepared for. So no wonder spring felt kind of rejuvenating. Like, okay, we're starting something here. Because the beginning of the year took me from 6 to 9. And then now here I am back at 6. That's a very different experience of the year than these collective cycles, which are saying, hey, we're at number 1. So figuring out where you actually are could be really helpful, especially if you're feeling chaotic right now. Because when I think about being in a 6 month and September being a 5 month, I'm like, okay, yeah, what was I expecting? What was I expecting here? So again, there are a few ways that we can approach the last 3 months, but definitely starting with October. We can treat this as an energetic preview of what's to come next year in 2026. If we really want to root into one energy, we can start to flirt with seeing what's coming next. What is a start going to feel like on a collective level? So that's one option. We can acknowledge that we are still in 9 energy and we can really go for broke until the end of the year. We can treat these 3 months like a mini container of time where we just throw all the spaghetti at the wall and really get as fun and as free as possible, because who cares? Here we are at the end. 3, we can keep doing what we're doing, trusting that, as Jeanna always says, things take the time that they take, and that we are in this period of time where we're meeting endings and beginnings kind of every day that overlap in really big and small ways. So there are ways to work with this energy. I really am feeling, and again, because 1 is the self, this is going to be a little bit more of a personal journey this month, that if you figure out what energy you're working through, then it's going to help illuminate your path, and then you will be better positioned to interact with the world with others. So it's a self-centered look, but it's not a selfish look. It's just like self-focused. The last thing is, if you are choosing to work with numerology this Samhain, we have a huge, the Witch's New Year or Halloween, October 31st at the end of the month. If you want to work with numerology in whatever you're planning for Samhain, October 31st is an overall 14/5 day. So you may want to try literally brewing some kind of potion if you think temperance, or trying out a new spell that sounds like fun, or 5 supports uncrossing or road opening work. So if you really feel like you need a new year, try that. November 1st, which is also part of Samhain, is an overall 12/3 day. So again, we are making magic, we're getting creative, we're expressing ourselves, we're reflecting on our overall journey. And so these couple of days, I know they're at the end of the month, but they do feel really supportive and potent for even kind of more of this new year wheel spinning transition energy. So get through the month. There's a really juicy little portal at the beginning of it and at the end of it.
I love all of that, Bee. So, as ever, there are parallels between the numbers and the stars, and that is very fun. So, as of October 1st, we are still in eclipse season, because technically eclipse season does not end until the lunar cycle of the last eclipse is over. That is over on October 6th. So we have the full moon coming on in, which I'll talk about in a minute. But as of October 6th, we're in the clear. Last eclipse season of 2025 is over. Thank fuck. We need a collective cool down and slow down, and October brings that, at least astrologically speaking. In some ways, with Saturn being back in Pisces and Neptune re-entering Pisces this month, the astrology of Q4 is really mirroring the astrology of Q1. Kind of like how the numbers are, like Saturn's back in Pisces, Neptune is back in Pisces. Like, what themes were we visiting then? I know that earlier this year I was feeling very sluggish, but I was like so upset that things were moving so slow. I was so ready for shit to happen. And now that shit has happened this year, very quickly, at an absolutely unrelenting clip, I am so ready for the slowdown again. So I think that this pocket of, months here at the end of 2025, and for the astrology that then goes into the first few months of 2026, I think this might be a really nice time also to integrate some lessons perhaps that we were just speaking for myself, that I was resisting during Q1. It's like those are coming back around, and perhaps we are more Our soil is more tilled this time. Our soil is more receptive. So like I said, eclipse season officially ends with the full moon in Aries on October 6th. It is happening at 11:47 p.m. Eastern at 14 degrees of Aries. So folks who have personal planets or points in those like middle degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, are going to be being primarily impacted by this one. Blessedly, this moon is unaspected, which means that it's not making connections to any other planet. It's just being a moon. Being a full moon. That's its only job. And if you, like me, are usually wiped during full moons, make sure you cancel your plans. Make sure you keep your calendar clear. Take a nap. If you are energized by full moons, on the flip side, then you might think about planning something really sporty or active this day, like go on a rock climbing date, go walk in the park, like take your dog to the dog park, just like something very active. Again, full moon in Aries. So this means, and Aries is active, fast moving, wants to do shit. Like, so if you are wiped out by full moons, usually I imagine it's going to be extra exhausting. And if you like a full moon, find a place to put that energy constructively, because otherwise it might be a little like feeling cute, might cause chaos. This is also a really good time to reflect on changes in your life that have been growing or shifting over the last 6 months since the new moon in Aries, which itself was an eclipse, and that was on March 29th of this year. So you can look at the Aries house in your chart for more clues as to what topics may specifically be arising around that lunation. And then we have the new moon in Libra coming on October 21st at 8:25 a.m. Eastern at 28 degrees. And this is a great time, obviously, like new moon, start something new. But new moons are also a great time to recommit to something that you want to bring back into your life, or something that you had started and then for whatever reason, life, the world, it fell off. And you're like, hey, I want to pick that up again. The new moon's a really, really good time to do that. And it's also a really lovely time just because this new moon is in Libra. So Venus rules, very Venusian, very relationship centric, very culture centric. So anything, new you want to start, whether it's a literal first date or whether it's like, hey, I want to pick up my little paint by numbers kit and be having some fun, like painting by the TV time. This is a great time to do anything to do with like beauty, art, culture, all that good stuff. So then I mentioned earlier that Neptune goes back into Pisces in October, and that happens toward the end of the month. The day after that new moon, we get a very tonal collective shift. Neptune retrogrades back into Pisces, where it hasn't been again since March of this year. And Scorpio season also starts. October 22nd is a busy, busy day. And B, I love that we both brought this up. So I will into the like Samhain, the death holidays basically at the end of the month. So just to say for everybody, in case you're wondering, Samhain or Halloween is not an astrologically significant date, and nor is the following, Dia de Muertos. But it is always striking to me that these holidays of ancestral veneration, of death and rebirth occur during Scorpio season. Scorpio is fixed water. It's water that doesn't move. It's a lake or the water at the bottom of a well, and that kind of water collects. It collects sediment and buildup and bones and memory. And so even if you are not someone who honors Samhain or like does anything practicing wise with Samhain or Dia de Muertos, it is a great time still to do some ancestor work. Ancestor work, again, can be just like researching or like looking up TikTok videos of, hey, so like for me personally, like Czech is a language that I am learning perpetually by way of honoring ancestors. Like practice some words. It can be as simple as that. It's also a really good time to take care of your spiritual hygiene, because especially if you are someone who attracts or picks up a lot of the dead around you. Again, because fixed water. Do you know what the dead, like the local dead, the wandering dead, love? That kind of energy. So good time for spiritual hygiene, good time for ancestor stuff. Those are a little more witchcraft than they are astrology, but I still put them in.
Important. Okay, we have cards as well. And the cards are both kind of, as ever, reinforcing some of these messages and are also offering some particular advice that hopefully will be supportive and helpful for you in this month that I think we're going to feel a lot of shifts and also maybe some stagnation. It seems like kind of a little bit of both. So, if you're new here or you just don't remember that I say this every time, I am not trying to offer predictions here with these cards. We are really just talking about vibes and themes and ideas and also suggested advice or things that you can do to take care of yourself right now. And so I always pull 3 cards for us just generally. And the first is our theme card, which is kind of just the vibe and energy and general advice for the month. And the card I pulled for us is actually strength, which I really love for us all. Strength in general is, I like to think of it as a card of patience and purpose, of discipline and devotion, of really waiting for the right moment and doing so with clarity and courage rather than a feeling of fear or withdrawal or procrastination. Strength sometimes comes up when there is an indication that balance is really needed, when we're kind of holding space for both our really controlled self that wants to plan everything out and has like a perfect date picked out for the time that something is going to happen, and that more kind of feral, wild, instinctive, intuitive self that wants to do things when we want to do things. Both aspects of self are important and useful and healthy and good, actually, and vilifying one or the other is not great. We like both. So depending on which tarot tradition you follow, because both have historical precedents, strength might be an 8 card for you or it might be an 11 card for you. But I like it as an 8 card because I think 8 really aligns with that feeling of power and dedication and really like doubling down on what we want to be doing and what we care about. It's really about like moving in a specific direction that we have already chosen and that really aligns with where we want to be. And so as a theme for our month collectively, I think strength is really going to encourage us to devote ourselves to the things that we know matter, keeping our eyes on the prize and not trying to rush our progress. With all of this energy of like beginning, but also kind of still wrapping stuff up and this kind of sense of what do we want to revisit, like what Jeanna was talking about, I think strength is a really supportive archetype to have, actually. A very like, what do you really want to be investing in? What do you really care about? What do you want to pick back up and work in a steady way towards? I wrote, we're going to get there and it's going to take the time it takes and we just have to ride it out. So like we're clearly of a vibe here. But I think strength is also trying to be present and do the thing rather than trying to force something to go faster or hurry the ending along. So I think kind of like B, actually, I have like kind of 3 different versions of what this could look like depending on your personal vibe and where you are in your own story. If you've been working really hard towards something for a long time, keep going. That's your advice for the month. Just keep going. If you've been hesitating or waiting for the right moment to act, or you've been kind of reluctant to start something or pick something back up, you might find more support for actually revisiting and like bringing back some of that initiation energy this month. And if you've been really exhausted and overwhelmed, if you haven't been sleeping, hello, if you've just been kind of burned out or feeling like you don't know what to do with yourself, strength is also bringing medicine around pacing yourself and moving at a pace that you can actually sustain. So really, I think strength has medicine for all of us, no matter who you are. But yeah, if you've been having a tough time, and honestly, who among us at this point, I really want to recommend actually pulling this card out of your deck if you have one, or finding an image of one, making it your phone background, or putting the card on your altar this month, or just generally keeping it as a companion and guide for the month of October. I think strength is just going to be a supportive archetype to hold fast to. Now, I also like to pull truth and dare cards, truth being our interior, what if you thought about this a little bit and looked inward kind of energy, and dare kind of being our challenge or a risk to take, a choice to make, that kind of thing. And both of them are 9 cards. So again, we've kind of got some themes recurring here. And wouldn't you know it, truth is the 9 of Pentacles, which I have been talking about. I literally wrote an essay about it this last month for September, so we'll link to that in the show notes. Pentacles have just been everywhere this year, both in my own personal work, but also we've had so many pentacles these last few truth or dares. It's been wild. Lately, this card has felt very associated for me with ideas of harvest, and the kind of duality of harvest, right? This can be this really celebratory, proud, I did the damn thing energy, but it can also represent the hard work of finishing up a long earth cycle, you know. I think this card can be interpreted in more standardized interpretations as just sort of general material success or abundance or having really made it. But as a truth card in this particular reading, I think the 9 of Pentacles is encouraging us to reflect on what making it actually even fucking means for you, okay? So think about what are your goals when it comes to the topics of Earth and Pentacles, you know, things like resources, wealth, health, stable housing, local community, safety, comfort, pleasure. What are your goals around those topics? And what are you working towards and that you've already made for yourself? How have you gotten to the end of a cycle, or how are you wrapping up a cycle? Lastly, think about what would success look like, and what does success look like, and what could success look like for you specifically. Success can mean a lot of different things. It can also be a terribly loaded word. And I want to encourage you to think about harvest not in this really binary, we've made it to the end kind of vibe, but instead thinking about this wheel and transitional energy and 9 and 10 kind of together, representing an ending and a new beginning. What might be slowing down? What might be speeding up? What are you investing in and trying to finish? And how is that ending creating space for a new beginning? Our dare, again, is also a 9 card, but it's the 9 of Swords. And the 9 of Swords, I want to just acknowledge, is a bummer of a card for a lot of people. Again, saying this as your resident insomniac who is doing this on very little sleep at this precise moment, pulling the 9 of Swords made me laugh this morning, because it is a card that is really primarily often associated with insomnia, as well as with terror and nightmares and just like scary, dark, I think of like negative thought patterns and like cyclical thoughts, the kind of thoughts that you just can't quite extract yourself from. And listen, the world sucks right now. It's so hard. There's so many things that just feel impossible. And so it might really feel to you literally like this card is reflecting how you are thinking and your own personal thought patterns. But this is a dare card, right? This isn't predictive. This isn't how are you feeling right now, but it's a dare. It's a challenge. And so I think the 9 of Swords is not saying, hey, just sit there and be scared. But instead, I think the 9 of Swords is really calling us to recognize where we might be in 9 of Swords energy or a 9 of Swords mindset, and how that energy might either be spurring us into action or has been keeping us locked in inaction. Again, like Bee was saying, so I'm not going to say all of this, but we've been talking about 9 all year, right? We're in a 9 year, and having 2 9 cards, I think, pushes us to think about what this energy is looking like in specific suits, or what 9 means for various aspects of our lives. So with the 9 of Pentacles, we're thinking about really tangible things that we've built in terms of our truth, and acknowledging what is real, what we can touch and feel and use. But with the 9 of Swords and our dare, we're thinking about fears, acknowledging beliefs or perspectives that might be a little twisted, but also that might be changing or even falling to the wayside to make space for a bigger thought or a different kind of perspective. So this month, with our 9 of Swords, and hold your hand when I say this, I dare you to name what you're afraid of. I dare you to find a way to fight back against those very specific things that are keeping you up at night. I dare you to not let the despair win, even when it seems like everyone around you might be letting the despair win. I dare you to not get so stuck in your head that you can't or won't do anything external, and instead to commit to taking action of some kind to address your fears. There's a lot of bad and scary things out there. Pick a fear, and literally I dare you this month to take a practical action towards soothing that fear, doing something that's going to protect you or protect your community, getting involved in mutual aid, doing something that's going to be like literally soothing the fear in a very practical and ongoing way.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Big cards. Big cards. Big cards.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny the 9 of Pentacles came up again. Like,
I
it's
just,
so
I
fucking
keep using different decks. I literally used Moonlight this time. Because I was like, these pentacles are haunting, and I feel like I'm like manipulating the deck so that I can promote my essays or something. Like, it's at the point where I'm like, this is ridiculous that I keep pulling cards, but it's like, I've been writing about it. I've been thinking about it. I keep switching up the decks, and the pentacles are they're just here. They just want to be here. I don't know.
I think that makes sense though, because if we're thinking about the pentacles as material, it's like, what is the physical reality that we are living in? And only when we're in that physical reality will any practical advice even be an option to hear, give, do, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but also like, yeah, it's keeping us tethered to something that, for better or for worse, like sometimes feels good, sometimes feels bad.
Yeah.
I was thinking a lot when both of you were talking about how much, I think what you both especially said like about how the 9 and the 1 are so linked together. It just very much struck me that way that like I don't know, I feel like the more that I write about full moons, for example, I'm like the full moons are also a beginning, but they're an ending, but they're a
Yeah.
beginning. Like I feel so much I don't know. I feel like the longer I write about them, the more I'm like it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
It's an ending or a beginning either way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that the beginner seat is hard to sit in sometimes. Like that's what I keep thinking about my even my own expectations about what I thought September and endings would feel like and what I was hoping October and beginnings would feel like. It's like even the clearest things that are starting in October, it's still to the Nine of Swords. It's still fucking freaky to be back in a beginner seat, feeling not ready, feeling I don't know what I'm doing. Even things that you feel really good and capable of about like put you in a new situation and all of that confidence can really be rocked if not, taken away. So, yeah, I just think it's a sensitive spot to be in.
Yeah, I think it really is. I think beginnings or learning something new or starting a new journey, it's such a humble moment. Like there's so much vulnerability in that part of the experience because you have to be bad at something before you get good at it. Like you were going to fall a little bit and stumble around a little bit when you're finding your footing somewhere. Like that's just actually a really essential part of the process, and it's a part where a lot of people give up. And I think when you're starting a new thing, you're knowing that you're probably going to fuck it up either right away or down the line, and it's like, do I have the courage to push past this inevitable uncomfortable moment? Am I ready for that? Do I feel brave enough for that? And I think that's hard, and we don't always know. Like, right, we might think we're more equipped than we are, and find out quickly that we have things to learn.
This
But
is reminding me of like this, it's like a viral internet thing, but like quote unquote, the law of invisible progress.
mm,
My sister sent me this saying this week. Shout out to my sister Joe, if you're listening. It's very short. I'm just gonna read it. So the law of invisible progress. You will see the reward for today's efforts in a season you have not yet reached. Beneath the surface, your actions are stacking up quietly, relentlessly, invisibly. Most people quit in this phase because they mistake lack of visible results for lack of progress. The ones who win, this is very capitalist, but like, stay with me. The ones who win are the ones who understand this law and keep showing up long enough for the invisible to become undeniable. Yeah.
And scene. No, that's it. That's so it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that is it. And I think that's what strength is saying
Mhm.
too, is like
Yeah.
stay the course. You literally said, like, if you've been working on something for a while,
Yeah.
keep going no matter
Mhm.
what, keep doing it. Because I do think that's a part of the process that it's very attractive to quit or to pivot or to do something else. And oh, this is just coming up now, but it's also like, this is also the part of the process where our desire might wane. And so we think we don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's actually not
Yeah.
about that. It's like,
Mhm.
yes, you do want this. It's like, not to make everything the process of writing a book, but it's like you're in the middle of the book and you're like, I think I'm just going to stop. Like, this book
Yeah.
doesn't need an ending.
This book doesn't need to exist, actually. Like,
No. And it's like, oh, maybe it does. Maybe you do still want it, even if it feels hard today.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's real. And thinking about like the changes that eclipse season can, or the disruptions that eclipse season can bring, and like the desire for something new that like beginning energy and like that 9 to 10 to 1 energy can bring. Like it makes sense that there might be a like, actually, fuck it, I'm just gonna leave all of this behind and start something new. But yeah, I think strength is very much like you don't have to do that. You can actually just keep doing what you're doing, and it's good too. Like this
Yeah.
actually gets to also be a good thing.
Sustainable pacing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like this is not an extinction burst or an energy burst month. This
Mhm.
is moving intentionally with sustainable efforts that may not be and probably aren't doing the fucking most. Like I wish I could go back in time and tell like my 20-something self working a corporate job not to try so hard. I wish I could tell her do 50%. That is still more than acceptable. That's still good. You don't need to go at 100 in order to be like good or worthy or respected or whatever the fuck word feels correct in that sentence. So I feel like this is a month where like doing 50% is still doing 50%.
You're just speaking to my 33-year-old self. Like,
Good.
yeah,
Good.
thank you.
Because you also are doing the most. Like, and what if
What if I did 50%?
what if you did 50%? Which your 50 is still someone else's 100. So let's be so real.
Yeah.
The invisible progress, my wife literally said to me the other day, you're still laying the bricks, but as you go one by one,
Yes.
it feels like you're just carrying the same brick over and over and over again, but you're not. You're carrying all these different bricks. And at some point, you're going to step back and be like, wow, I've built something. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Just not today. So that season that you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it is hard to act in the hope of the season we haven't seen. And to trust that it will come and to keep acting as if it is coming. That is a very hard thing to do.
The 10th house is the house of legacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not to make everything about musical theater, but I did just see Hamilton in movie theaters.
That's
Because
right.
it's the 10th anniversary of Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
And in Hamilton, it literally says, what is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you'll never get to see. And I think that there's something very emotional about that. It's very emotional to take action towards things that you want, that you're hoping for, with no expectation that you'll ever get to see the results.
Also, I think of like Cancer and Capricorn as also being like the axis of lineage and legacy. Cancer being like the more looking back and like memory, but also holding memory and keeping memory and like all of that kind of stuff. And then, it's very related flip being Capricorn, like the leaving the stuff that you're not like changing structures. So, but you're not going to necessarily live to see like the benefit of them. And who both are Capricorns is Alexander Hamilton and Lin-Manuel Miranda. And Lin-Manuel Miranda has an absolutely fucking stacked 10th house. Sun, moon in Capricorn. I think his moon's in Capricorn. Mercury in Capricorn, his midheaven. And it's all 10th house because he's an Aries rising, because of course he is.
Wow.
So just to also say, I love that you brought that up, Hamilton and 10th house and legacy stuff, because I'm also like, I don't know. I love Hamilton. I don't care. I really do. And but I think it's also because it's all of the like how much it talks about writing and how much it talks about legacy. Like that line you were quoting, like makes me want to cry right now. Because I'm just like, that's what's so hard about living in the fall of empire. Like, which is what they were doing too, in their own perverse, fucked up, slave holding ways. It's like, what seeds are you planting that you're not gonna, be the beneficiary of?
Well, now like Meg, everyone's going to think that I'm just bringing this up to then be like, oh, I wrote an essay about it. But I promise I have been thinking about an essay all year about Hamilton.
Write
But
it. You should write it.
I'm going to, but I feel like this is adding to it because that is a really great example of people living and taking revolutionary action at the end of something and the beginning of something else. And how every beginning, it says the great American experiment begins. Like, we don't know what we're doing here. We just know we don't want to do this anymore. So it's a very interesting confluence of beginnings and endings, like in a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Living through one right now.
Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like it. I don't love it.
No, I would prefer to not. I'm sick of living in unprecedented times, and in history. I don't want to live in big history. I don't-
I know. I know. But at what cost?
But at what cost?
All right, I guess we should cauldron.
Let's
I
call it.
guess we should
Get back
call
to
them.
something we can actually talk about.
I do
So,
feel bad for anyone listening who does not like musical theater because we do pull out a reference like at least once an episode.
Listen, we're just talking the language we know, and we're all musical theater people in different ways, so we're just
Yeah.
here. And the last few songs of Hamilton, there's so many banger lines. Like, if you're not crying by the end of Hamilton, you're not listening to the words because the lyrics are.
if
Oh,
Hamilton
okay, sorry.
ends that final moment and you're not sobbing, something's wrong with you.
Something's wrong with
Or you
you.
just haven't been paying attention. Because I can often get to the orphanage, but then the orphanage takes me out, and then you're dead. You're done. Like I can't get past
Diva
the orphan.
down. Diva
Yeah.
down.
Diva down. Wait, October 2025. Diva down.
Diva down.
Oh no. I was at a coffee shop here in New York once. It was like in West Chelsea or something, and I was getting a coffee on my way to some photo shoot. So I had like my camera equipment and stuff. And I walked into the coffee shop to get my drink, and they were clearly had been listening to the entire soundtrack of Hamilton, and we're on the final song, like Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. And I was just staring at the barista who had the most haunted, like cursed look on their face. And I was like, who put this on and why do they hate you? And they were like, we have had the worst morning. And I was just like sitting there waiting for my drink. Like, I can't even listen. I had to put my headphones on. I was like, I can't stand in this coffee shop at 7 a.m.
And weep.
and listen to this.
That's rude.
I was like, this is cursed. I would quit. Like, this is bad vibes. Like, are you sending people out to their day with Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story?
I forget if you
Anyway.
said this or not, babe, but was it a Starbucks? Was it
No.
also a sobbing in Star? No.
No, sorry, that was more violent than it needed to be. No, it was like a nice little queer local coffee shop, which is why I was like,
Which is why they were listening to
Why they were
Hamilton.
listening to Hamilton.
100%. And it's also why I was like, who did this to you? One of you actively chose this. Like, anyway.
Okay, well, the
Cauldrons?
vibes are not going to get better. Let's talk about money.
At what cost?
At what cost?
I like
Literally.
Diva down. I'm gonna pull for that one.
Diva down. Okay, that is the question that you can ask yourself about money this month. Diva down? Question mark.
Incredible transition. As ever.
Because this month really could highlight your personal finances, even if you are contributing to a joint, a familial, or a community pot. So in September, we were advised to get very kind of cold and logical about our money and take a good hard look. And maybe you did that, maybe you didn't. Who's to judge? Definitely not me. But this month, questions might be, what are you bringing in? What do you do with your money? What really is working for you? What is not? Again, depending on what you did last month, these questions might feel really easy to answer or like you have to dive back into the deep end. And even though one is this practical energy, again, we do know that money is emotional. So this could feel a bunch of different ways. Really, the directive is to be gentle with yourself, especially if you are running up against realities or potential resentments as well. That word resentment came up kind of really big and strong, especially if you start looking at your piece of the pie. There's going to be that idea of let's compare it to other people's pieces of the pie. So we're navigating between this emotional energy and kind of what's practical at this point.
So for astrology with finances, I have been looking at Mercury a lot this year, and wow, does this month have a lot in common with the numbers as ever. Mercury gets a lot of recognition on the internet and publicly for being in charge of communication and technology, and it is in charge of those things, and we should look at Mercury for those things. However, Mercury also has so much to do with commerce and local business and your local economy, especially. And Mercury enters Scorpio on October 6th, which is that same day as the full moon in Aries. And so the message I think here is move in silence. Like, and I so think that what B said about resentment is spot on, because also, again, Scorpio, fixed water, those are feelings that have sunk to the bottom and that are being carried along. And so I don't know, what came through was like with Mercury and Scorpio. Yeah. So like, absolutely, like, don't be making decisions out of resentment. Don't consider your own money, like, with that. But also, like, not everyone needs to know your business. Not everyone deserves to know your business, right? Make financial choices that are from a place of reasoned consideration and emotional integrity rather than fear. And try to avoid impulsive responsiveness. Even if there's like a really, really good, probably misrepresented listing on the real, and you're like, which is my problem, and are like, hey, what if I got this because it would be such a good investment? No. No. Put the phone down, take a step back. If you're still thinking about that dress tomorrow, then you can order it.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of impulsive responsiveness, I pulled the Knight of Wands. So, which I think we could read in a lot of different ways, but listening to y'all, I'm kind of just like, yeah, I don't know. Knights are so funny in the tarot because there are so many different ways to read all of the court cards, but I think knights especially can be really polarizing. Some people see them as like these like feral little monsters, and other people see them as like these really empowered, like brave, courageous people. And I think they can be both, frankly. I tend to think of them as apprentices or adolescents, so they can be really riding that edge of fire and impulsiveness. And I think there's a lot of ego, especially with the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands likes to move quick and do a lot of things and be kind of the star of the show, which, when the Knight of Wands is in their bag around money can be really great. This can look like, moving quickly and just like getting shit done and making big moves that really pay off. But when it's not so great, when it's not so supported, it can really veer quickly into kind of a flaky energy of like starting things that they can't finish, or biting off more than you can chew is something I often think about with the Knight of Wands. So I'm just going to echo what B and Jeanna have said. Be thoughtful. Like, you don't have to do the most when it comes to money, but what you do, be careful that it's something that's not just courageous and flashy, but actually has some substance and some meaning for you. Again, move with integrity. Don't make money choices just out of ego or comparisons, like B was talking about. Just be thoughtful and try to balance the courage with the rash impulsiveness. Get the best of both worlds.
It feels like there could be some earning potential just talking to the two of you or listening to the two of you.
I think there could be a big, cool move that actually could happen for some folks with that Knight of Wands that's going to require some courage. I don't want that to be like, an investment opportunity and you're like, I have to do this immediately. I mean, if it's feeling rushed, like, just take a step back and think about it before you jump right in.
I also actually think the tarot and astro goes really well together, because it's like Knight of Wands, do something brave, do something courageous, take a big step, like whether that's paying off debt or like doing something legal around money or like investing in stock for like whatever it looks like. But Mercury and Scorpio, don't put your business on Maine. Like, do something brave with, in private. Is kind of
brave in private.
Like, it's like, of course, like, if I do something, I'm gonna tell my wife, but like, I don't need to tell my entire Discord. I don't need, it's like that. Like, who needs to know is kind of a big, I don't know, my big question vibe.
Beautiful. Well, this has nothing, there's no transition here. This has nothing to do with anything. We are jumping into home, and I felt very strongly that this 1 month could usher in a new living situation, and Little Knight of Wandsy has the potential to move things along very quickly. So I don't know what it feels like now, but apartment hunting in New York used to be a sport. Like, you would have to be ready to put down money at the viewing.
It's a bloodbath now. It's even worse.
It's worse.
It's so much worse. People are outbidding each other for rentals.
Outbidding for rental.
Toxic as fuck.
Okay, I literally wrote, chances are someone could still rent it out from under you. Like,
yes.
So I know that we all just survived eclipse season, so this is going to be not, I'm gonna, like Meg, I'm gonna hold your hand as I say this. The more flexible we can be, the easier ride that we will have if things are really shifting at lightning speed. So again, this could be really great if you've been looking for a new living situation, if you've been trying to sell a house, if you've been trying to buy a house. This could be really supportive. This could usher in things very quickly. If you are not trying to move and this happens for you, I am really sorry. If this is like, this has the potential to like hear from your landlord and they're like, we actually are selling the building and you have to be out by the end of the month, or things that have felt kind of tenuous. Again, this is beginnings and endings. It's like if something has felt really, a living situation has felt tenuous, let it fall apart. Really is the vibe. Be flexible, let it fall apart. We're trusting that whatever is coming together has the best intentions for everyone involved.
So on that note, I think that what B said may be especially applicable to 3 particular rising signs, because home as a topic is getting extra highlighted for Cancer risings, Capricorn risings, and B, my beloved Sagittarius risings. So Cap risings, that full moon in Aries on October 6th is highlighting just the general topics of home, family, heritage, roots. So again, something may be coming to an end, like a living situation, or this could just be like, hey, we finally finished a major home improvement project. Like, again, it can run the gamut. And then Cancer risings, that new moon on October 21st is going to highlight the same area of life. You may be starting someone new. It can look as big as moving or as lovely, especially for a new moon in Libra, as finally hanging up art for a gallery wall. And then you have a new look to your living room or your hallway. And isn't that fabulous? And then Sagittarius risings. So Saturn has now moved back into your 4th house of home, family, roots, heritage, grandparents, all that good stuff. Neptune will retrograde back in there as well on October 22nd. So the lessons around like what is home, who is home, what you believe about home, what do you idealize or catastrophize about home that you have been exploring for quite some time, like since 2011. All of those topics are coming back up for one last final review. Neptune is going to go back into Aries for good in early 2026. So with Saturn and Pisces both back in this part of your chart, think back to Q1 of this year and what you were either like putting off or making plans for in regards to home and family, because those conversations are going to come back around.
Mm-hmm. I pulled the Page of Swords. So I feel like all of the energy around, if something new is happening, if something big is changing, if there's a move that's happening or whatever, the Page of Swords feels very like ask all the questions, right? I always think of pages as interns or like students, but it's got a really fresh, like kind of beginner's mind, fresh approach, fresh perspective kind of energy to it. So if you are navigating a big shift, if something big is changing, if you are moving or shopping for a home or, changing out your roommates or like whatever, just ask a bunch of questions. Be as curious as you possibly can. And even if you're not doing a big transition and it's just something smaller, like picking out a new paint color or rearranging furniture or, whatever the thing might be, just pay attention to as many options as you have and get curious and excited about what those things might be. I think anytime you can have an open mind, especially with living stuff where you might have to be creative around where you're putting something or how you're going to make something work, being open to ideas, researching things, asking questions, talking to people can be helpful. So tap into your information networks and keep an open mind. That feels like the best summary of that I have to offer.
For love in October, we're in one energy. So self-love is the name of the game. Mm-hmm. And I really believe, and I know from experience, that self-care is the root of all other kinds of care. So if your self-care has been lacking, this is the perfect month to really shore up your practices. But just as love isn't all chocolate hearts and teddy bears, we know that self-care is not all bubble baths and face masks. So one is a practical number. This is the month to make sure that your basic needs are met. You are eating, you're sleeping as much as you can, you're drinking water, you're taking your meds. And if this sounds like health, it's because it is. So really in this month, I think we're talking about ourselves. And so we're talking about all aspects of our self health. So what's our money health look like? What does our home health look like? Here in love, we're getting back to basics because again, when you're taken care of, then you can freely take care of others. So not saying this isn't, this could also be like a great time to start dating someone or take new steps in a relationship. Like this is one energy has big DTR vibes, define the relationship vibes, but really it is about you first and foremost.
I love that. And astrologically, it's very affirming of all kinds of platonic hangs. The vibes are not especially hot or sexy, I think. I mean, again, what is sexy to you? Don't let me define that. But the vibes with Venus this month are very caretaking, are very like local community. Specifically, there is a really cute little Venus Jupiter sextile between Venus and Virgo, Jupiter and Cancer on October 8th. And what came through was that this is a really, really great moment for a friend hang, also cute vibes for like hanging out with kids or animals, or with friends who have kids or animals, just, combine all of them. Visit a cat cafe. That's the vibe for this. The one day though, there's also a day that I'm just like, if you are doing romantic stuff, if you are, planning a date night or planning to propose or anything, do not do it on October 11th, unless it's like your anniversary and, that's its own thing. But like Venus in Virgo is opposite Saturn in Pisces on October 11th. This is not as cute. This is very big. No, something went wrong, push pull. So we don't want that day for that kind of thing. And then Venus moves into Libra, one of the two signs she is in charge of, on October 13th. And so this makes the back half of the month very lovely for like friend museum trips, go to concerts or shows with your beloveds, get your author photos done if you're me. So
I should do that too. So I pulled for love, I pulled us the Seven of Cups. And the Seven of Cups is a card that is very like dreamy possibility. So that can be sweet for love, but it can also be a little weird for love. So again, like so much, this is going to kind of depend on where you're at and what you're looking for. And if you're thinking romance or platonics or whatever. Sometimes the Seven of Cups looks like being really excited about a lot of potential pathways and longings, about maybe being able to see different versions of relationships or different conglomerations of relationships or just different possibilities with one person or with multiple people. But other times this can just look like spending so much time lost in your own imagination or fantasies or daydreams that we like get completely disconnected from reality. Like think about someone who spends so much time fantasizing about someone but doesn't even actually know them, or like dreams so much about like dating someone seriously but never bothers to actually ask them out and maybe make it happen. Okay. So with this month, the Seven of Cups is like, pay attention to where your heart wanders and what you find yourself envisioning or kind of circling back to, what your heart keeps kind of moving towards. Especially if you find that you're constantly thinking about a specific person or a particular relationship format or a particular kind of relationship or move or like whatever. But balance the fantasy with actual reality. Acknowledge where you might be getting caught up in a desire that's either actually within your grasp or is like completely untethered from possibility. Daydreaming is fun, but don't let those wishes about what could be keep you from actually pursuing what you do want or what could actually be something that's within your grasp. If you want to spend all your time fantasizing about someone who's in a happy monogamous relationship and will have no interest in you, that's up to you. But I would suggest maybe actually pivoting your attention to someone who could be a real option, for example. And that's what I got on the Seven of Cups.
Maybe the dare to like do something that's that Nine of Swords, like do something that scares you is to like tell the person.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Seven of Cups can be very like, it doesn't always feel indecisive to me, but I think it usually to me feels more like I'm having such a nice time imagining what this could be that
Yeah.
I can't bring myself back down to earth and imagine actually doing it. So yeah, I like the dare of like, what if you tried though?
Yeah, that and like a great month for polycules, it
Yeah,
sounds.
truly. A great month for polycules. Why not both? Is the energy.
All right, to wrap us up for these cauldrons with health. One is the beginning, so don't overdo it this month. I feel like, Gina, you were just talking about
Mhm.
that and feeling like this is not when we're going to go for broke and like flame out. And I think this could be frustrating and kind of shed a little bit of a nasty light on where we are versus where we want to be. And so this month for health, instead of pushing it, we can tend to that grief. We can feel those feelings. And again, it's tough. I literally wrote, it's tough to be at the beginning of a long journey and staring down the barrel of more work. But you deserve to do it right. You deserve to have a fighting chance. You deserve to meet your goals in ways that don't detract from your health or your quality of life in other ways or the long run. So, for your health, in whatever this means to you, whether this is more medical or this is more holistic or this is more physical, more mental, you fill in the blank. Really be where your feet are, as hard as that might be, and don't overdo it because I think the consequences on the back end are not going to be worth it.
On that note, if there is a day to be especially mindful of about don't overdo it, it is October 24th. The Scorpio sun is going to be squaring Pluto in Aquarius. So what that means is that these two planets are making a 90-degree angle in the sky. There's a lot of friction. It's the most friction heavy aspect of planets meeting that you can have. And a square is very unstoppable force meets a movable object, or like however that saying goes. So rest. I literally wrote down, don't overdo it, because this can look like a strain injury, especially when it's like Sun Pluto. It's like this can look like a chronic illness flare, like a strain or a sprain. It has very big like went too hard and pulled a muscle and like now I can't like lift my arm above my head for the next few weeks. So again, do 50%.
So I pulled the Queen of Cups, which feels very in line with the self-love vibes, with the just love yourself, babe, is what I wrote down. Again, an opportunity to slow down and take care of your body and be gentle with whatever is bubbling up. Health might feel emotional this month, but health might also just be something that feels like you have kind of the caretaking desire around it to really honor whatever you're feeling. I think queens have great boundaries and can teach us about boundaries. So I think this feels like a month to really honor what you want when it comes to health, to really trust your gut and give yourself permission, again, to rest, to do less, to do 50%, whatever. But yeah, don't overdo it. So also, lots of showers and baths, drink a lot of water, stay hydrated out there, meditate, journal, spend time tending your nervous system. It has been a time. So if your health feels fragile is not the word that I want, but if your health feels tender or if health topics feel tender, let yourself be tender, and take care of yourself in the ways that actually feel good for you. Yeah, know what works for you and trust that knowledge.
I've been doing Tai Chi lately, and that
Yeah.
has been so nice, actually.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I like movement that isn't doing the most. That's just what I'm gonna
Mhm.
keep saying.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny that we've all hit the conclusion at some point in our own work to get here today, that we've
Yeah.
all hit the same conclusion of this is not a race out of the gate kind of
No,
start energy in
no.
October. Like, and the idea that we kind of like an imposter syndrome conversation when we were like, if you have imposter syndrome, you probably are super capable. Like, only
Yeah.
incredibly smart, capable people have this experience. It
Hmm.
feels like that with productivity or like getting things done. It's like you can do 50% because, like Gina said earlier, your 50% is someone else's 150. So it feels like everyone who normally is proactive and on their shit and wants to get things done and ambitious is kind of being told not to take a back seat, but just to take a different, slower approach.
Mhm. And I think that I forget if we were recording when we talked about how it's like not a burnout month, so or like that the vibes are not so much burnout as they are overwhelm. And so to me
Mm.
it's like that's going slower, doing less. Queen of Cups is like very, hey, you can let some of these balls drop and the world won't end. And I don't know. I saw a TikTok. I'm so wary of saying that sentence now, but like I saw a TikTok of a therapist talking about how a lot of people are carrying national trauma as personal trauma in that like really individual day-to-day way, which I don't know. Like we all know that, but also like her framing of it in that way was very like, yes, this is something to care about and this is something to take action for, but also like I don't need to be carrying the weight of the world myself. I don't know.
Yeah, it's making
Um,
me it's making me think about like the strength and the Knight of Wands of it all, of like pick your battles and like choose the things that you can actually do to
yes.
completion and
Yes.
that are like in your own integrity and in your value, and just let yourself be invested in those things instead of trying to do all the things. Because I really do feel like that's where so much of the overwhelm comes. I mean, it's a polycrisis. Like there is collective trauma, there is collective grief, there are things like climate crisis that are
Yeah.
just going to kind of keep getting worse unless they get significantly addressed by people with significantly more power than any of us. And so it's really easy to be like, I have to be doing something for every single thing that I see that's wrong. And I have to grieve for every single thing that I see that's wrong. And that is where overwhelm leads to burnout, leads to, I actually can't do anything for anyone, even myself. So pick a few things, pick your lanes, decide and just continue to show up for the things that you've been showing up for. That's going to probably end up feeling better than trying to, tack in 10 new responsibilities this month. Yeah.
Also, super big grain of salt asterisk around this, but
Mhm.
you can't get it wrong. Just do something. Like
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
especially Seven of Cups came up. Like if there
Yeah.
are so many options, I'm having book paralysis right now. I have
Mhm,
so many
mhm.
books that I want to read that I'm reading zero books because I like literally
Yeah.
can't pick a book to just open up and start.
Yeah, that's so
And
real
so
though.
sometimes you just have
Yeah.
to do something. And
Yeah.
then if it's not the thing you want to do, you course correct later. Like that's very much the one way is like try the thing. If it doesn't work, do something else. And there's very little kind of in its archetypal form, there's like very little feelings of failure around it because it's just like, well, that didn't work. Let's just do the next thing.
Yeah.
So,
I love
yeah.
that. That's also a call-in because I had started a book that I've been wanting to read for years and put it down and have not picked it up again because I'm always like, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. I'm like, what's enough time to read a book? 5 minutes is actually enough time. I can read a few pages. Like, anyway, just to
Yeah.
tack on to yeah,
I
I
hear
feel
you.
seen by that and I agree. On that note,
Mhm.
We can read
do
our
what?
book in October.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna read books in October.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not be on a screen.
Yeah.
Take care of our nervous system.
Mhm. Yeah.
that's a
Get in the
big
bath and read a
one.
book.
Yeah, touch some grass, read a
Mhm.
book,
Yeah.
call a friend.
Yeah.
We'll all get there, but at what
Yeah.
cost? No. Diva down. All right, little coven, we will all see you online this month. You can reach out to us at callyourcoven@gmail.com. You can check us out on social media at callyourcoven. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/callyourcoven or at callyourcoven. If all things go according to plan, we do have a really exciting conversation for you coming later this month. So hope for that. And otherwise, I can't talk about November. It feels
No,
fake.
it's mid-September. We can't talk about November.
No,
That's
no,
too much.
no.
I'm out. Mm-mm.
But we'll talk to you again.
Yeah.
Cool. Until then, stay well.